The Biden campaign is reportedly targeting older voters with commercials on The Price is Right. Are you sure you want to be on a show where people guess the price of stuff?
Yes, the price might go up while you're in the studio. Hey, wait a minute. That used to be $12,900. Now it's $42,000. Thanks to Bidenomics. But I thought they stopped calling it Bidenomics because they don't want to be associated with their own economic policies. Well, sure, yes, but... Well, happy Tuesday to you and welcome back. A lot of strange things have happened since last week convened. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. taking it to him over the lack of Secret Service protection. You know, his father was shot and killed by Sirhan Sirhan at a hotel in Los Angeles, California, while he was running for president in 1968, some time ago now. And Robert F. Kennedy, he's running, and he's got name ID. And, of course, the Democrat Party is a terribly dangerous party, a violent party, political mob violence everywhere, and suicide attacks and self-immolation, the Democrat Party. What was it that Donnie Douche said on MSDNC? The Douchester, he said, as he was known in high school, he said that if you're voting for Republicans, you're voting to kill democracy, to destroy democracy itself. You know, the Republicans really ought to come up with matching rhetoric, don't you think? It should be in-kind rhetoric time. If you're voting for Democrats, you're voting for Earth to become a Death Star. Everything is just going to become a post-apocalyptic Mad Max. They're going to be children lashed to the grills of school buses across America if you vote for Democrats. All women will become men, and all men will become, something in between, because that's already going on, isn't it? Then already got a lot of that going on. Democrat Party. We, Republican members of Congress and politicians just can't match the incendiary rhetoric of the Democrat Party, the crazy Mad Max rhetoric of the Democrats. It's an end of democracy, and this is part of their messaging campaign, which is carried forward by, their party, which is more like Hamas every day. They really are like Hamas. All you have to do is tell the truth about the Democrats. Voting for Republicans may save our republic, but they say, no, it'll be the end of democracy. Trump was already president for 4 years. Did democracy end while Trump was in the White House for 4 years? No, it didn't. Were there wars in Europe and the Middle East? No, there was global peace. The planet had never been more at peace. That's a slight embellishment, but they would say it. Than when President Trump was living in the White House. But now it's the end of democracy. It is. And that's because, they don't have enough fanatics out there shooting members of Congress on baseball fields or self-immolating at the Israeli embassy in Washington or the Israeli consulate in Atlanta, Georgia, where just 2 Democrats have self-immolated at the Israeli embassy and the Israeli consulate. And then another Democrat self-immolated at the Supreme Court. That was a pretty good one. Amazing stuff. That was over Earth Day because he didn't like people putting smoke into the air. So not being very bright, he self-immolated. That was a good one. And then, where was there's so many self-immolations, it's hard to keep track. They love self-immolation. Those are suicides. And they love suicide attacks on police and on members of Congress. That's real. That's really the Democrat Party. But somehow voting Republican will end democracy. The fanaticism, they burned our cities, Seattle and Portland, attacking police stations and courthouses, and laid siege to the White House for days, forced the evacuation of the president, set fire to the church of the presidents. Just remarkable stuff. Then they had the self-immolator in New York City outside of the Trump courthouse. That was the 4th Democrat self-immolation. There were only 6 Buddhist monks that self-immolated during the Vietnam War, and that kind of made news. Now, 4 Democrats self-immolated in the United States in a 2-year period, and it's not even news. It's not even a blip because they're Democrats, you know? It's not like it was January 6th or anything where Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed by a racist cop. What happened to that racist cop? Is he working for the Justice Department now? He probably got a promotion, right? They gave him medals. They hey, you shot that unarmed Air Force veteran lady. Nice job. End of democracy. But I digress. I do digress. Gallup poll. These Gallup people. George Gallup started it years ago. Republicans enjoy 11-point swing from 2016 against Democrats in party identification. We've got a better party, less fentanyl, but, our party is, we still got mixed cocktails and stuff. Speaking of which, we had fun with this story on my Newsmax show last night. You see in San Francisco, California. San Francisco, California, they have a program to treat alcoholics. You see this program? To treat alcoholics. And the program has 55 people in it. 55 people in it. And because they have an alcohol abuse problem, they are self-described alcoholics, the city of San Francisco stood up a program. And in order to treat the alcoholism in these 55 people, they give them hard liquor and beer. They give them hard liquor and beer. And that's the treatment. They give them, and they call it doses. They call it doses, right? Now, they've had this program for 4 years, and it's cost, for 55 people now, it's cost $5 million a year, $5 million a year to treat 55 alcoholics. Now, they've done this for 4 years. That's $20 million for 55 alcoholics. And what they do, they don't buy them condominiums overlooking the bay and say, now don't drink. They give them alcohol every day. Come and show up, come along now and join the party. Come along now and join the fun. We've got bourbon for everybody. And I was looking at it last night. I'm like, that seems like a lot of money. I hope they're buying Pappy Van Winkle, this very high-end brown liquor for like $7,000 a bottle. You got to get the 30-year-old or whatever, the Pappy. Get the Pappy in. And 55 people and $5 million a year each year for 4 years. That's $20 million to give free liquor to 55. I'm going to just say guys. There might be some women in there too, and it's San Francisco, so there might be some Democrats, which is another word for hermaphrodite. That is, the word Democrat is now synonymous with her. It could be in between, neither a man nor a woman. You're Hermes and Aphrodite at the same time. You're a Democrat. You're genderless. You're a mental case. But I love the program in San Francisco. For $20 million, 55 alcoholics have been getting free alcohol. That's a hell of a bar tab, isn't it? That is a crazy bar tab. But there are only 55. I mean, over the course of 4 years, they could buy country club memberships for them and let them keep an open running tab the whole time for 4 years, and they wouldn't reach $20 million. That's pretty amazing. That's your government at work. So we got that going for us. That's San Francisco. And the thing is, here's the crazy thing. That's perfectly typical of government programs. That's not out of bounds by any metric that the government has or that the news media has. And the news media is part of the government. As long as the Democrats are in charge, then they're part of the government. If there are Republicans in charge, then the news media is anti-government. They're viciously anti-government. But when Democrats are in charge, they have to shave their tongues so that the tongue baths are more pleasurable for the Democrats. Remarkable stuff. And left-wing mediaite RFK Jr. pleads with public to get him Secret Service detail. The Democrats in California actually paroled Sirhan last year. Sirhan, I think, is 80 years old, and he's in prison in California for shooting and killing Bobby Kennedy. And he shot, I think, 4 other people that day, too. And he's been in prison all this time since 1968. But last year, the parole board paroled him. I think it's a 3-person parole board. Can't call them men, can't call them women. They're Californians. And that's a genderless definition. And now they're just waiting for Gavin Newsom to sign the paper to say, okay, you can walk out the door now. And maybe they should wait for RFK Jr. to get the Secret Service detail before he signs that piece of paper. Amazing stuff. Amazing. Also, there's a Rudy Giuliani story today. Apparently fired by the owner of WABC Radio in New York, which does conservative talk radio. And John Katzimatidis is the owner. And he apparently fired Rudy Giuliani because he talked about the 2020 election being fishy. Something fishy there. And, oh, yeah, you're fired. So much for that whole free speech thing from WABC in New York, a historic radio station. But never mind that. They canceled his radio show because he got out of line. Amazing. Also here in Washington, D.C., a teen gunman who is definitely a Democrat had an AR-15. Maybe they gave it back to him. Fired 26 rounds. He's out shooting his AR-15 rifle, which the Democrats are opposed to, I think. Aren't they not in favor of AR-15 rifles in everybody's hands? I don't know why. And the Democrat teen came out and fired 26 rounds from his AR-15, and then they let him go. They just let him go because there is a woke judge, and this is even being covered in Great Britain, which is another country altogether, and it's fairly great. It used to be greater. Now it's like, okay, Britain. They should call it, pretty nice. Not so bad Britain. Largely Pakistan, Britain. It's Mohammed Britain, since that's the most popular name now for newborns in Britain. That's amazing stuff. I'm telling you, we've got a lot of crazy stuff going on these days. President Trump back in court today in New York City because the lynch mob will not relent. Did you know that the jurors show up on horseback every day wearing hoods? I thought that was kind of weird. And one of them, the guy in front, I think that's the jury foreman, has a noose, has a big, thick, heavy 2-inch hemp rope noose with 13 loops on it, traditional noose setting. That's the jury. And the news media doesn't mind. They don't notice that. Of course, they barely noticed the self-immolating guy in front of the... That was the most exciting thing that's happened in the Trump trial so far, as a Democrat showed up and self-immolated in front of the courthouse because, honestly, the Democrat Party is not well. They're not doing well at all, are they? Also, we have primaries going on today, political primaries going on today. And in Maryland, Michael Piercy, sitting across from me here, his young son Max is not in school today because the schools are closed because there is a primary election going on. And there's a big one going on in West Virginia as well. And the news media is really upset because among the primaries, they're looking at Senate candidates. And West Virginia, Joe Manchin is leaving the Senate. He's had enough of the glories of national politics because he's not completely insane. So he's going home. And replacing him, oh no, control of the Senate. Okay, and the news media is already waging war. They're waging jihad against our republic. They're a danger to the republic. The Democrat Party and the news media, they're an end to the republic. And this is the rhetoric that you have to use to respond in kind to their crazy stuff. But we do have Maryland and West Virginia key primary elections today, Tuesday. Big implications for the fight for the Senate. They always use this language. The headline is, "Shape the battle this fall." Such martial language, all this warlike language. They really are. Now you see why they love Hamas so much. Honestly, they got suicide attackers in Washington, New York, Dallas, Baton Rouge. They have self-immolators in New York, Washington, Atlanta. Boy, oh boy, I'm telling you, 2 of them were in Washington, the self-immolators, the Israeli embassy and the Supreme Court. And they're all Democrats. They're all Democrats. Mass murdering suicide attacks on police. and Republicans are a threat to our democracy? Is that what I'm to understand? They attack the Family Research Council. They attack Supreme Court justices at their homes. They've got mobs outside the homes of the Supreme Court justice. Mobs, violent mobs in cities across America. And Republicans are a threat to our democracy. Well, let's not forget January 6th. See, very convenient. They're making maximum use of Ashley Babbitt being shot and killed by a racist cop while unarmed. Remarkable stuff. Did I mention that we are at 888-630-9625?
Up! Now we see the violence inherent in the system. Shut up! Oh, come and see the violence inherent in the system! Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
All right, let's go to the telephones, Michael, at 888-630-9625. Let's go to Patrick, calling from Oklahoma City, which is in Oklahoma. Patrick, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, it's awesome always catching you on the radio and here in the mornings. I got a little disconcerted about some of the lawyers and or even the politicians on the Republican side when they have the so-called impeachment of our 45th president, Donald Trump. Back in 1999, President Bill Clinton went over to Kiev, Ukraine, and signed the U.S.-Ukraine treaty, which basically has any infractions of anything illegal. They could go ahead and talk back and forth about, anything that happened illegally in either country. They can go ahead and discuss or give information. Bill Clinton signed that. So when Trump basically said, hey, what's this thing about Hunter Biden and all that kind of stuff? How come no Republican realized that basically what Trump did was perfectly legal? And of course, only one side impeached him, for making a phone call to Ukraine.
Yeah, your question, your basic question, Patrick, I think is, what in the name of God is wrong with the Republicans, and why don't they pull their heads out of their dark and remote locations and fight the fight? That's kind of what you're asking, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I can look. Anybody can look up the document. Actually, is in the U.S. Congress.gov. It's right there, black and white, or if you want in color, you can do that too if you adjust your computer screen.
Listen, that just means that you are paying attention, as many millions of Americans are, and that the Republicans on Capitol Hill for decades have not been fighting the fight. I got my Washington Times newspaper this morning. One of our excellent newspapers in Washington, D.C., the Examiner, the Free Beacon, the Washington Times, and then the Washington Post. It looks like a newspaper, but it's not. And the Washington Times today has, they cover the news there. They do lots of great things. And front page story by the great reporter Stephen Dinan. Stephen Dinan, a great reporter at the Washington Times, been around this town for some time now. And he knows journalism and he knows the news, and he's great. Immigration is the header. Only 46% of new arrivals contribute to labor force. But wait a minute. I know the Democrats keep telling us who's going to scrub your toilets, who's going to mow your lawn, who's going to clean the dishes in the back of the house at the restaurants that you go to. Isn't that what they always tell us? That's what they always tell us. Because for them, illegal aliens are like 3/5 of a person. They pad out the population, count them, have the Census Bureau count them, then the Democrats get more seats in the House of Representatives, just as they did during the slave days when the Democrats loved their 3/5 of a person thing, right?
If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that,
No.
you know what I mean? Like, when I'm saying
There's more jobs to be
in LA, they always,
but
they don't,
Latinos are not only the only people
I didn't mean
doing
it like that. Come on.
Oh, come on. I didn't mean it. I just said it like that. You said the quiet part right there. Now, only 46% of new arrivals, that's how we refer. Some are legal immigrants. Some are illegal. The vast majority are illegal. The vast majority are illegal immigrants, and that's bad for legal immigrants. It does not make their lot in life better. Only 46% for Democrats trying to follow along at home. That's fewer than half, see, because 50% is half. Just got to explain these things to them because they probably went to, public schools in Washington, D.C. or something, in Chicago, in Baltimore, in San Francisco, in any Democrat city. Only 46% of new arrivals contribute to labor force. Many immigrants depend on others, meaning they've become parasites. Is that the thing? President Biden has overseen the fastest expansion of immigration, legal and illegal, in U.S. history. But less than half of the newcomers are holding jobs, according to a report released Monday. The Center for Immigration Studies, using Census Bureau numbers, calculates that 46% of immigrants who arrived over the last 2 years are employed. And are they employed scrubbing toilets and mowing lawns and cleaning dishes in the back of the house, as the Democrats like to envision them? That challenges a very key selling point from immigration advocates, that is to say, open borders leftists, that the stream of newcomers is critical to the U.S. economy. This is what they tell us. But they lie whenever they're talking. Some immigrants say they are looking for work, including the elderly, children, and caregivers. No, right? Some are looking for work, but most, including the elderly, children, and caregivers. Wait, we've got illegal alien caregivers coming into the country and they don't have jobs? Is that? I'm a caregiver. But how do you say that in Uzbek? Huh? Well, I'm sorry, what? And they're out of the labor force. You see, the elderly, the children, the caregivers, they're out of the labor force. The report says immigration clearly adds workers to the country, but it just as clearly adds non-workers who need to be supported by the labor of others. The report's author, Stephen A. Camerata and Karen Zengler, say those who simply see immigration as a source of labor need to understand it's also a source of school children, retirees, and many other non-workers. How could it be? Honestly, this is not surprising at all. And how many of them are gang members? How about drug traffickers? How about human traffickers? How about fugitives from justice in their home countries? How about that? These are all good questions, aren't they?
We have a shortage of workers in our country, and you see even in Florida, some of the farmers and the growers saying, why are you shipping these immigrants up north? We need them to pick the crops down here.
Way down south in the land of cotton, old times there are not forgotten. That's Nancy Pelosi for you. She had a lozenge, I think. She was shuffling around a lozenge in her mouth there. The U.S. had 51.6 million immigrants as of March 2024. That's up 5.1 million from March of 2022. That is the largest two-year increase in history. In the history of the country has netted 6.6 million foreign-born since the start of the Biden administration. Now, and that is the ones that we know to count, that we have to count, right? Then there are the gotaways. And the gotaways number in the, who knows, probably in the millions as well. Sometimes you get 175,000 gotaways in a month. And where are they? And why are they gotaways? You know, one of the, I don't think we even played the audio cut yesterday, but one of the Border Patrol people, retired Border Patrol chief patrol officer, and he's talking about the gotaways, and he said, you know, if you're an illegal alien and you're coming to the United States, and you know that we've got this catch and release program, and they all do, and that you're coming to the United States to be an illegal alien, you know, you can just walk up to any Border Patrol person, and this is what most of them are doing, finding people to just say, hi, I'm here, because it's catch and release. So they're not really caught. They just walk up, and then we release them into the country. It doesn't matter if they're wanted for mass murder in Brazil, as this one guy in New Hampshire was, convicted of murdering 11 people in Brazil. He escaped prison in Brazil, came to the United States, got a job at somebody's house in New Hampshire. No big deal. But catch and release. And it said, you know, if they know, and they do, that when you come here, we've got catch and release, we're just going to wave you into the country, give you a bus ticket or a plane ticket, and say, welcome to America, illegal alien. Why would you try to get away? And the only possible answer is you're up to no good. There's something bad about you. And you think that if you're caught, you might go to prison or be sent back or something because you're a bad guy.
Why somebody would evade arrest by Border Patrol knowing that they're going to be caught and released should scare the heck out of everybody, because the people that are evading Border Patrol are someone or something that is going to do us harm. So we don't have a clue of who these people are, other than just using statistics to say they're probably not people we want in this country.
That's Chris Clem, now retired, and he was Chief Border Patrol Officer, I believe was his title, and now retired, and now he's free to tell the truth, hopefully without fear that the Biden government will retaliate against him. But this is truly remarkable stuff. And again, we had Ellis Island, New York City, was open for 64 years, I believe. It was the gateway to the United States of America on the East Coast. And we took in 12 million people through Ellis Island, 12 million people through Ellis Island over the course of 64 years. 64 years, I believe, is the correct number. And we could have 12 million illegal aliens, and they all came in legally. The 12 million through Ellis Island all came in legally. Even young Vito Andolini, who grew up to be Vito Corleone, because he came from the Sicilian town of Corleone. But, and we checked people for diseases and hey, do you have family here? Where you going? We're just going to toss you on the street. Ellis Island was orderly. People came in legally. They came in by ship. And then we, after vetting them, invited them into the United States of America as legal immigrants. And that was 12 million people through Ellis Island over the course of more than 6 decades. And Joe Biden could beat that number in 4 years. And only 46% of them contribute to the labor force. That is to say, have jobs. And whose jobs do you think they're taking? The Democrats are here to destroy our democracy. Oh, speaking of which, let's go to Donnie Douche, because this is pretty amazing stuff. Yesterday on MSDNC on Morning Joke, where Mo Yarborough and his semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife, Mika Brzezinski, hold court, and they invited their pal Donnie Douche in, and he's out like an image consultant or something. Can you believe these people? And he... Boy, it is those Republicans are a real threat, a real menace.
Anybody that votes Republican and doesn't understand you're voting for the end of democracy, just pay attention to the Sunday shows this past weekend.
Just pay attention to the Sunday shows. Why would anybody pay attention to shows that were last weekend that nobody watched in the first place? It's the end of democracy. That's what you're voting for if you vote Republican, according to Donnie Douche on MSDNC. That's what Republicans need to know. And what he's doing is he's pointing to other friends of his in the Circle Fest in the hot tub where they all have the same message. You know, we learned recently that a lot of these left-wing pundits, they have Zoom calls that they all join in on, and they share one another's talking points, and then they fan out to CBS and ABC and NBC and CNN and MSNBC, and they pretend to be objective experts and subject matter experts, and they're not. They're just Democrat shills who are giving a tongue bath to Joe Biden, which is not an appealing proposition. Just ask Tara Reid, who fled to Russia. But that's another thing altogether. It's the end of democracy, really. And if you don't believe him, just watch the Sunday shows from day before yesterday. That's what Donnie was saying yesterday morning, Monday morning on Morning Joke. Aren't they amazing? It's the end of democracy. And Republican voters, if they're voting Republican, they need to know what they're voting for is the end of democracy. That is, of course, the opposite of the truth from that lion Sacagawea, the douchester, because just amazing stuff. Am I right? Yes, I am. I am telling you. Now, let's go to soundbite number one. Soundbite number one is President Trump from Saturday in Wildwood, New Jersey. Nice beach community in South New Jersey, near Cape May, where 250 million people were present, the entire population of the United States minus the West Coast states. Kidding. But, you know, the police, I believe, estimated about 100,000 people, 80 to 100,000 people, according to some at least kind of official estimates. And President Trump was there. And he's talking about this kind of combines illegal aliens and the Democrats' love affair with radical Islam and Hamas. And I've got more for you on that today, too, because our State Department and the Biden administration, they've sold out Israel, and they are sucking up to radical Islam like they've got, you know, dirty movies of them. I mean, it's unbelievable. But here's President Trump, and I talked about this from day one. If you've got students on the campus of Harvard or George Washington University or any place else, and they're here on visas because they're from some beep-hole country, some filthy, rotten, disease-ridden beep-hole country, you know, like France or something, and they're here on visas going to school, and they're protesting in favor of Hamas. Let's say they're from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, or from Saudi Arabia or something, and you're in here protesting against the Judan and in favor of a radical Islamic jihadi death cult of an army called Hamas, funded by another death cult called the Islamic Revolution in Iran, then you should be deported before your shawarma gets cool, because President Trump in Wildwood on Saturday.
If you come here from another country and try to bring jihadism or anti-Americanism or anti-Semitism to our campuses, we will immediately deport you.
We will immediately deport you. That sounds like a good idea. Just wonderful. And then he points out that, you know, what the reality is, notwithstanding what Donnie Douche says, the Democrats are actually demolishing Western civilization in the United States of America. They're funding Iran. They're funding Hamas. They're that they said Trump was undermining NATO by pounding the table a little and demanding that our NATO partners pay into the common defense, our shared defense, what they had committed, 2% of gross domestic product of their puny little boutique countries. And he got them to pay more. And even the left-wing boss man at NATO conceded that about a month ago, 6 weeks ago. We played the audio here saying, yeah, he was being browbeaten by some left-wing fake journalists on a TV show, probably one of the Sunday shows. And he said, no, well, actually, what President Trump did led to NATO being stronger and being more well-funded. But never mind the truth or the facts. President Trump on Saturday.
Look at the economy, the real economy, not the fake economy. Everything they touch turns to what? You shouldn't use that kind of language. Look. You can't use the word okay.
Speaking of which, did you see Kamala Harris yesterday dropped what we call in polite company the F-bomb, and then cackled like a schoolgirl, like a giddy little dimwit, which is why she's not really next in line to be president when they have to pull Joe Biden out of the White House in hopes of winning the presidential election in November. Yeah, we've got fried zucchini for you today. We've got RFK Jr. for you today. Kamala using her best potty mouth. Potty mouth, girl, potty mouth. And our support for Israel is ironclad. And that works as long as you don't know what that word means. Once again, they use the words, but they don't know what they mean. And the anemic Jake Sullivan, alleged national security advisor, speaks up on a couple of things. And I don't think it went the way that he had hoped. Those are coming up, and we are at 888-630-9625. Hey, you remember CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations? They're a soft jihad group. They're a social jihad group. They're here to destroy Western civilization, radicals, headed largely by leftists who are converts to Islam in the United States, but never mind that. They've got a plan for the 2024 election, and them and other Muslim groups, they've got a plan. I'm guessing they're rooting for Joe Biden and the Democrats because they're destroying Western civilization too. Oh gosh, I'm looking at the clock, and I want to go to a telephone call, but it would be impolite. We've got so little time left on the clock that I think I'll just ask you to hang in there because we've got to do a news thing. But there's a lot to talk about, as you know. 888-630-9625. CARE and several other Muslim American political groups announced the formation of the American Muslim 2024 Election Task Force to influence the presidential election in key swing states. Gosh, I hope that doesn't lead to car bombs or anything like that, because that'd be should frown upon that sort of thing. We don't want the full-blown jihad here, but I think the Democrats do.